The server room smells like ozone and impending doom. That's been the smell of my life for the past 8 years. While everyone upstairs is playing corporate games and ordering their fancy salads, I'm down here making sure our Navy communications infrastructure doesn't explode and take half of Colorado Springs with it. I'm Russell Patterson, 48 years old, and I've been keeping classified systems running since before these MBA kids knew what a computer was. 20 years in the Navy as an electronics technician taught me 2 things: how to fix anything with circuits and how to spot trouble before it hits. What I didn't learn was how to deal with entitled executives who think experience is just another line item to cut. It was a Tuesday when they dropped the hammer. Tuesday has always been a garbage day for bad news, ruins the whole rhythm of the week. I was deep in diagnostic mode, tracking a packet anomaly that looked suspicious on our $38 million Navy tactical communications contract, when my phone buzzed. Text from HR. Bring your badge. Conference room 12A. Real subtle. About as subtle as a torpedo hit. I walked into that glass fishbowl on the 12th floor. The AC was cranked up like a meat locker, probably to keep the new CFO's ego from overheating. Her name was Brooke Whitfield. She looked like she'd been assembled in a factory that makes generic corporate villains. Too much makeup, a suit that cost more than my truck payment, and eyes deader than a fish on ice. She'd been here exactly 2 months, didn't know a server from a coffee maker, but she'd already managed to convince CEO Hartwell that our department was operationally inefficient. "Russell," Brooke said, leaning back in her ergonomic chair like she was about to deliver the wisdom of the ages. "We've been conducting a comprehensive review of operational expenditures, specifically your department's cost per output ratio." "I am the department, Brooke," I said. My knees were killing me from crawling under racks all morning, so I stayed standing. "And the output is keeping a $38 million Navy contract from turning into a federal investigation." "Exactly." She smiled like a shark that just spotted a swimmer. "You're very premium priced. We found a solution that's more aligned with our fiscal optimization strategy and agile operational framework." Fiscal optimization. Agile operational framework. The phrases tasted like month-old coffee mixed with corporate buzzword soup. "You mean you found someone cheaper?" "Significantly more cost-effective," she said, sliding a folder across the mahogany table. "We've contracted an external team. Eastern European, very dynamic and tech-forward. They start tomorrow morning. We'll need your access credentials and security badge by close of business today." I looked at her. Really looked. Searched for any sign she understood we handle communications gear that requires secret and top-secret clearances. Found nothing but $signs reflecting off her veneers. "Brooke," I said, keeping my voice level like they taught us in the Navy, "does this dynamic new team have federal security clearances? Do they understand NISPIOM protocols, ITAR compliance requirements? Because if they don't, you're not just breaking our contract with the Navy, you're violating federal law." She laughed, actually chuckled like I was some old sailor spinning sea stories to impress the youngsters. "Russell, you tech people always make everything sound so dramatic. It's just data, ones and zeros, digital infrastructure management. Don't worry about the big picture compliance stuff. That's my job now." Those ones and zeros she was talking about? They were encryption keys for tactical radio systems used by Navy SEALs in active combat zones. The digital infrastructure was hardened communications gear that costs more per unit than most people make in a year. But explaining that would be like teaching quantum physics to a goldfish. I stood there for a solid 10 seconds. The rage was building like steam pressure in an overheated boiler, but then something cold washed over me. The same feeling I got before boarding suspect vessels in the Persian Gulf. Calm before the storm. "Okay," I said. Brooke blinked. She was expecting a fight. Begging, maybe tears. Certainly not calm acceptance. "Okay. You're the boss, Brooke. Fiscal optimization, agile operational framework. I get it completely." I unclipped my security badge and set it on the table with deliberate precision. Reached into my pocket and pulled out the RSA token, the master key for everything that mattered. Set it down next to the badge with a soft click. I assume this cost-effective new team is fully briefed and ready to take over system maintenance protocols at midnight tonight? "They're completely up to speed," Brooke waved dismissively, already looking at her laptop screen. "Seamless transition. You can pack your personal items and clear out by end of day." I walked out. Didn't storm, didn't slam doors. Walked to my basement workstation like a man heading to his own execution. Grabbed my coffee mug, the one with USS Nimitz printed on the side, the photo of my German Shepherd, and my Lucky Phillips screwdriver that had been with me since boot camp. Left the documentation, left the sticky notes explaining system quirks, left the 200-page manual I'd written from scratch explaining every critical protocol and emergency procedure. Here's the thing about fully briefed outsourced teams hired by people like Brooke Whitfield. They work off scripts written by people who've never seen the actual equipment. They don't know the ghosts in the machine. They don't know that the backup server in Rack 7 overheats if you run diagnostics at 2 a.m., or that the Navy uplink requires manual authentication every 6 hours, or it assumes hostile takeover and locks down everything. I took the elevator to the parking garage. The sun was shining, which felt like insult added to injury. Threw my cardboard box in the passenger seat of my F-150 and lit my first cigarette in 2 years. Inhaled until my lungs burned like they did during damage control drills. Fiscal optimization, I muttered to the windshield, watching office workers hurry past like ants. Drove home through Colorado Springs afternoon traffic. Didn't cry, didn't curse. Stopped at the liquor store for a bottle of Maker's Mark. The good stuff, because technically I wasn't unemployed. I was retired from caring about other people's problems. And tomorrow morning, Brooke Whitfield was going to learn exactly what she'd bought with her cost savings and agile operational framework. One thing I knew for certain, the systems were set to auto-cycle at midnight. If the authentication handshake didn't happen, and it wouldn't, because the Romanian team didn't have the protocol keys I'd just left on that conference table, the system would interpret it as a hostile intrusion attempt. Poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon, sat on my porch, and waited for the world to catch fire. My apartment gets quiet at night. The kind of quiet you only get when you live alone and your career just got flushed by someone whose daily coffee budget exceeds most people's hourly wage. I was on the couch, leather cracked from 15 years of use, staring at the TV without really watching some late-night rerun. It was 11:45 p.m. In the defense contractor world, especially when you're dealing with classified Navy communications, you develop a sixth sense, like phantom pain from a missing limb. Even though I was 10 miles away, stripped of access and authority, I could feel those servers humming in their climate-controlled cave. The cooling fans ramping up for nightly data synchronization. Security protocols queuing up for their automated handshake. Scripts preparing to verify that everything was still secure and American. And in 15 minutes, a team of underpaid contractors in Bucharest was going to try logging into a system they had absolutely no business touching. Took another sip of bourbon. It burned less now, warming my chest like a small furnace. My phone sat on the coffee table. Personal phone, but since I'd built the entire alert architecture from scratch over 8 years, my number was hard-coded into the catastrophic failure notification tree. I'd meant to remove it during the chaos of packing my dignity and my German Shepherd photo. Oops. At exactly 12:01 a.m., the phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Single notification glowing harsh blue in the dim living room. System alert, unrecognized IP attempting administrative access on secure network. I smiled. Dry, humorless smile that would have made my old chief petty officer proud. "There you are," I whispered to the glowing screen. Brooke's cost-effective dynamic team was knocking on the door. And because they were cheap, because fiscal optimization was more important than security protocols, they weren't using the secure VPN tunnel I'd spent 6 months configuring to Department of Defense standards. They were coming through the front door with standard commercial remote desktop protocol, like trying to break into the Pentagon with a stolen hotel keycard. The phone buzzed again, and again. System alert, incorrect credentials, attempt 2 of 3. System alert, incorrect credentials, attempt 3 of 3. System alert, maximum login attempts exceeded, initiating security protocols. Here's the beautiful part that Brooke's MBA brain couldn't comprehend. They weren't trying to access payroll databases or marketing presentations. They were hitting the secure repository for Project Neptune, our $38 million Navy Tactical Communications Encryption System contract. You don't just log into Project Neptune with a username and password. You need physical RSA token, biometric verification, and IP address pre-clearance from Naval Information Systems Command. Brooke had the token. It was sitting on that mahogany conference table where I'd left it, probably next to her organic kale salad and imported mineral water. But Brooke was sleeping peacefully in her downtown condo, dreaming of quarterly performance bonuses and cost optimization metrics. The Romanian contractors just had a login credential some junior IT support person had given them, along with a script that said, "Connect to server, download files, troubleshoot as needed." Phone buzzed a fourth time. Different alert tone, higher priority. System alert. Unauthorized access detected in restricted defense sector. Protocol 7 initiated. My stomach dropped like an anchor. Protocol 7. I'd written Protocol 7 during my second year at Coastal Defense, back when I still believed in proper documentation and following procedures. It's the digital equivalent of general quarters on a Navy ship. Lock the doors, seal the compartments, assume you're under attack, and start recording everything for the court-martial. Protocol 7 doesn't just block access. It flags the attempt as hostile action against United States military infrastructure, takes screenshots of every keystroke, traces the source IP through 7 proxy layers, starts building a federal case file with timestamps, geographic locations, and legal citations. And, this is the genius part I'd built in, it begins an automated evidence preservation sequence that's designed to survive everything short of a nuclear strike. If I was a good employee, a loyal company man, this would be the moment to call Brooke. Wake her up screaming about pulling plugs and stopping the bleeding before it got worse. But I wasn't an employee anymore. I was too expensive, remember? Too premium priced for the new agile operational framework. I watched the phone dance across the coffee table, vibrating toward the edge like a dying fish. The Romanians were persistent. I could picture them in some fluorescent-lit call center in Bucharest, sweating through cheap polyester uniforms, staring at screens that kept flashing "access denied" in angry red letters. They were probably messaging their supervisor right now, who was messaging Brooke's assistant, asking why the credentials weren't working, why the seamless transition felt more like trying to break into Fort Knox with a plastic spoon. They tried to force it. They always do. That's what happens when you hire people who work off scripts instead of understanding. They think it's just a glitch, that if they hammer the command line hard enough, try different ports, maybe install some helpful remote access software, the system will eventually give up and let them in. Phone buzzed again. New alert category. The kind that makes your blood pressure spike, even when you're expecting it. Critical. Firewall breach attempted on port 8080. Foreign IP detected installing unauthorized software. "Oh, you beautiful idiots," I said aloud, raising my glass in a toast to their spectacular incompetence. Port 8080. They were trying to tunnel through standard web traffic protocols, probably using something like TeamViewer or Chrome Remote Desktop, free software downloaded from the internet, on a classified Navy network. By doing that, they'd just crossed the line from incompetent troubleshooting to active cyber attack against United States military infrastructure. The system wasn't just logging errors anymore, it was building a federal prosecution case. Every keystroke they made was being packaged into legal evidence folders with timestamps, IP traces, and automated notifications to 3 different federal agencies. I poured another drink, amber liquid swirling in the glass like liquid gold. In my mind, I could see the server room 10 miles away, status lights flashing from green to amber to angry red, cooling fans screaming as encryption algorithms kicked into maximum security overdrive, environmental sensors triggered by the heat of overworked processors. Someone at the office, probably Murphy, the 60-year-old night security guard, might hear the fans revving like jet engines preparing for takeoff. But Murphy earned $12 an hour to watch empty hallways and check locks. He wouldn't know that the electronic screaming meant the building's digital nervous system was having a massive panic attack. My phone stopped buzzing for exactly 30 seconds, silence that felt heavier than the Rocky Mountains. Then a different tone entirely, sharp, piercing ping that cuts through your skull like a dental drill. Alert. Federal Compliance Watchdog triggered. Level 1, escalation. That was it. The first domino falling in a chain reaction that would end with people in expensive suits asking very uncomfortable questions. The system had detected attempted breach of classified infrastructure and, as per the Patriot Act compliance software I'd painstakingly installed and configured, had just sent a notification ping to the external monitoring station. That monitoring station wasn't in Colorado Springs. It was in a bland government office park in Virginia, where people with badges and serious expressions monitored threats to national security 24 hours a day. Brooks' dynamic, cost-effective Romanian team had just knocked on the Pentagon's door and spray-painted graffiti on the mailbox. I sat back on my couch, leather creaking under my weight, heart pounding like a steam hammer in my chest. This was bad. This was career-endingly, criminally, federal prison bad for coastal defense systems. I could still fix it. Could log in through the back door I'd cleverly left myself, because 20 years in the Navy teaches you to always have an escape route. Kill the connection, reset the protocols, save Brooks' rear end and probably her freedom. Looked at the empty spot on my wall where my Navy Good Conduct medal used to hang before I'd packed it away. Remembered the smirk on Brooks' face. "You're very premium priced, Russell." Put the phone face down on the coffee table. Not my problem anymore. But the night was young, and the Romanian team was just getting warmed up. I couldn't sit still. The silence was too loud, and the urge to fix things was like an itch under my skin that I couldn't scratch. So at 1:30 a.m., I found myself at Murphy's Diner, a 24-hour place that smelled like bacon grease and broken dreams. Perfect atmosphere for watching a career disaster unfold in real time. Ordered black coffee and apple pie that looked like it had been sitting under heat lamps since the Clinton administration. The waitress, name tag said Dolores, had the weathered look of someone who'd seen every kind of late-night crisis humanity could produce. I opened my laptop and did something that technically wasn't illegal, but probably violated several company policies I'd helped write. Now, before you judge me, understand this. Brooke had revoked my network administrator access, took my RSA token, locked me out of everything that mattered in her grand fiscal optimization scheme. But Brooke, in her infinite MBA wisdom, had forgotten that the building's physical security system, cameras, badge readers, environmental controls, ran on a completely separate legacy network that I also maintained. Because Hartwell, our CEO, couldn't figure out how to change his own password without calling for help, I still had master access to the security cameras. Typed in the IP address, bypassed the certificate warning. Classic Hartwell never updated anything that wasn't directly billing customers. And there it was. Grid of 16 black and white feeds showing coastal defense systems in all its midnight glory. Empty cubicles stretched out like a corporate graveyard. Cleaning crew had finished hours ago, but camera 4, the server room, showed movement. Not human movement, but lights. Status LEDs on the main communication frame strobing like a disco having an epileptic seizure. Red, amber, red, flashing faster than a cardiac monitor during a heart attack. And on camera 2, the main office bullpen, I watched a computer monitor flicker to life. Someone had left a workstation logged in. Remote desktop window opened, mouse cursor jerking across the screen like a drunk spider. The dynamic team was trying to troubleshoot remotely. Since they couldn't get into the secure servers directly, thanks to Protocol 7 turning everything into digital Fort Knox, they were remote controlling a regular office computer inside our network, hoping to pivot from there and find another way in. It was painful to watch, like watching someone try to perform brain surgery with a crowbar. I zoomed in on the grainy feed. Resolution was garbage, but I could make out windows opening and closing. Command prompt, control panel, network settings, registry editor. They were changing fundamental system configurations, trying to bypass security protocols by modifying the basic networking infrastructure. "Oh no," I whispered into my coffee cup, feeling a mix of professional horror and personal satisfaction. Changing network settings inside a classified enclave is like setting off a flare gun during a stealth mission. It tells the automated security system that the internal network is being hijacked by hostile forces. Suddenly, on the camera feed, every light in the server room went solid red. All of them. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in the color of fresh blood. Complete lockdown initiated. The mouse cursor on the remote desktop froze mid-click. Connection was dead. The Romanians had just locked themselves out of everything, including the basic office network they'd been using as a stepping stone. I laughed. Short, sharp bark that made a trucker 2 booths over look up from his hash browns and stare. But then I saw something else on camera 1, the main lobby. Murphy was at his security desk looking at his control panel with the expression of a man watching his paycheck evaporate. Red lights were flashing on every system indicator. He picked up the phone. He wasn't calling police. Not yet. He was calling the emergency contact number taped next to the fire alarm panel. My name was still first on that list, right above FBI Field Office and Colorado Springs Fire Department. My phone rang. Building front desk, according to the caller ID. I stared at it for 4 rings, then let it go to voicemail. Murphy's voice, thick with worry and confusion. "Hey Russell, sorry to bother you so late, but those server lights are doing that crazy Christmas tree thing again, and the air conditioning just shut off in the basement, getting real hot down there. Temperature alarm is going nuts. Thought you should know, since you're the guy who usually fixes this stuff." The AC shutting off. That was Protocol 7's fire prevention safety feature. To stop flames from spreading through ventilation systems, the lockdown protocol automatically sealed all air-handling dampers. But without climate control, that server room was going to turn into a blast furnace in about 45 minutes. While the classified data was encrypted and protected, the physical hardware was about to cook itself to death. Millions of dollars in specialized Navy communications equipment turning into very expensive paperweights. I took a bite of pie. Tasted like cardboard soaked in artificial cherry syrup, but I was celebrating. Opened my personal email and drafted a message to Brooke. Subject: Heads up. Body. Brooke. Looks like you might be experiencing some growing pains with the new team. Remember, agile operations come with agile risks. Best of luck with the transition. Russell. Hovered over the send button for a full minute, then deleted the entire message. No. She needed to learn this lesson the hard way without any help from the expensive guy she'd just fired. I switched back to the camera feeds and watched the temperature gauge overlay climb steadily. 72 degrees, 75, 78. The cooling fans were screaming now, audible even through the security door seals. At 85 degrees, the thermal protection alarms would trigger building-wide emergency protocols. Those alarms didn't just notify Murphy's security desk. They went directly to Colorado Springs Fire Department. And when firefighters respond to a facility containing classified Navy communications equipment, they're legally required to notify federal liaisons before taking any action. I checked my watch. 2:15 a.m. Wednesday morning. By sunrise, there wouldn't just be IT problems and overheated servers. There would be people with federal badges asking very pointed questions about who had authorized foreign nationals to access classified defense systems. "Dolores," I called out, raising my empty coffee cup. "Can I get a refill? Maybe some whipped cream for this pie?" "Celebrating something special, honey?" she asked, walking over with the pot. "Unemployment," I said with a grin. "Turns out it's surprisingly educational." She topped off my mug and shook her head. "Men, y'all are crazy. You know how in horror movies the music swells right before the monster jumps out and ruins someone's day? In systems administration, there's no dramatic music. Just the peaceful silence of your personal phone, followed by the electronic screaming of other people's disasters. I stayed at Murphy's Diner until 4 a.m., nursing coffee and watching my former workplace transform into a federal crime scene. The server room temperature held steady at 88 degrees, hot enough to make the cooling systems work overtime, but not quite hot enough to start melting circuit boards. Yet. My silenced phone was vibrating against the Formica table like an angry wasp trapped in a jar. I finally unlocked it to find notifications stacking up like accident reports after a multi-car pileup. Critical. Thermal threshold exceeded in primary communications bay. Critical. Heartbeat signal lost. Authentication server alpha. Critical. Heartbeat signal lost. Authentication server beta. Critical. Environmental systems offline. Manual intervention required. And then the big one. The notification that makes your blood run cold even when you're expecting it, even when you've been waiting for it like Christmas morning. Federal compliance alert. Unauthorized access escalation, level red. Multiple agencies notified, immediate response required, level red. Let me explain what that means in the world of government contracting because apparently nobody had bothered explaining it to Brooke during her 2 months of operational optimization. Level green, everything normal. Level yellow, someone forgot their password. Level orange, potential security incident, investigate immediately. Level red, assume facility has been compromised by hostile foreign intelligence. Data integrity cannot be verified. Chain of custody broken. All personnel considered suspects until proven otherwise. Level red doesn't send an email to the IT help desk asking them to look into things when they have time. Level red sends an automated, encrypted, high-priority alert directly to Navy Information Systems Command, FBI Cyber Division, and Department of Homeland Security. It's an electronic flare shot directly into the national security apparatus, screaming, "Help us! We're under attack." I sipped lukewarm coffee and pictured the scene at Navy Information Systems Command in Virginia. Some watch officer sitting at a wall of monitors saw a red light blink on his threat assessment dashboard. He'd tap his screen, frown, and check the contract details. Coastal Defense Systems, Colorado Springs. Status, compromised. $38 million tactical communications contract. He'd pick up the secure line and call the emergency contact for that contract. The emergency contact was Brooke Whitfield, CFO and architect of fiscal optimization. I closed my eyes and let satisfaction wash over me like warm bourbon. 4:15 a.m. Wednesday morning. Brooke's phone was about to ring, and it wasn't going to be a customer service survey. Picture Brooke fumbling for her iPhone on the nightstand, silk pajamas rustling, hair perfect even at 4 a.m. because that's how these people live, expecting maybe an Uber notification or wrong number. Ms. Whitfield, this is Commander Rodriguez, Navy Information Systems Command. We have a level red security alert originating from your facility. I need immediate status confirmation. Brooke wouldn't know what level red meant. She'd probably think it was some kind of elaborate prank. Say something brilliant like, "Who is this?" Call during normal business hours. Or worse, she'd try to corporate speak her way out of it. "Oh yes, Commander, just a minor operational hiccup. We're implementing some agile solutions to optimize our tech stack." Commander Rodriguez would not give a damn about agile solutions. Finally went home around 5 a.m., needed a shower to wash off diner grease and the residue of moral ambiguity. Stepped out wrapped in a towel and checked my phone. 11 missed calls, 9 voicemails, all from Brooke Whitfield. I sat on the edge of my bed and played them on speaker like a documentary about the 5 stages of executive grief. Voicemail 1, timestamped 4:52 a.m. "Russell, it's Brooke. We're getting some weird automated calls, probably a glitch in that legacy system you built. I need the shutdown codes to stop these alarms. The noise is disturbing our offshore team. Call me back immediately." Tone, annoyed, condescending, still convinced she was in charge of the situation. Voicemail 2, 5:18 a.m. "Russell, it's Brooke again. The Romanian team says the servers are rejecting their authentication protocols. They're locked out of everything. Did you sabotage something before you left? If you damaged our systems out of spite, I'll have our legal team destroy you. Pick up your phone." Tone, aggressive, accusatory, fear creeping in around the edges but still covered with corporate anger. Voicemail 3, 5:47 a.m. "Russell, okay, look. I have a Navy commander on another line asking about chain of custody documentation. I don't know where you stored the compliance files. You said you left documentation. It's not anywhere obvious. Just call me back. We can work something out. Maybe bring you in as a consultant for a few hours." Tone, bargaining. The cracks were showing. Consultant for a few hours, like she was doing me a favor. Voicemail, 6:15 a.m. "Russell, please, the air conditioning is completely dead. Murphy says the servers are overheating and he can't restart environmental systems without administrator codes. The fire department is here threatening to flood the equipment room if the temperature doesn't drop. I don't understand why there are codes for the air conditioning. Why is everything so complicated? Just call me back." Tone, full panic mode. The reality of her situation starting to sink in. Voicemail 5, 6:35 a.m. "Russell, they're sealing off the building. Federal agents just walked in. Real agents, not local police. They're asking for the information systems security officer. That's you, Russell. Or it was you. I told them you were unavailable due to recent personnel changes. They said to find you immediately. Please, I need you to come in right now. I'll pay whatever consulting rate you want. Just make this stop." Tone, complete surrender. Just make this stop. I listened to that last one 3 times. The desperation was beautiful. Stood up, walked to my closet, and chose my outfit like I was selecting armor for battle. Not a corporate suit. I wasn't an employee anymore. Dark jeans, work boots, black button-down shirt, Sharp and professional, but distinctly different. I wanted to look like what I was, a contractor they couldn't afford to lose. Made fresh coffee and deliberately didn't call Brooke back. Why? Because Sun Tzu said never interrupt your enemy when they're making mistakes. And Brooke was currently making the mistake of trying to explain level red security breaches to federal agents without her information systems security officer. Every word she said about fiscal optimization was being noted in official incident reports that would follow her for the rest of her career. I sat by my window, watching normal people start their normal Wednesday morning. Birds singing, garbage trucks rumbling, the world continuing to spin, while 3 miles away my former workplace was being transformed into a federal crime scene. My phone rang one final time. Not Brooke. Private number with a DC area code. I knew exactly who it was. The heavy artillery had finally arrived. Let it ring until the very last second, then picked up. This is Russell Patterson. Mr. Patterson, this is Admiral Porter, Navy Information Systems Command. Do not hang up this phone. His voice sounded like gravel being processed through a cement mixer, pure command authority that expected immediate compliance. I'm listening, Admiral. We have a critical situation at Coastal Defense Systems. Your name appears on all primary security protocols for Contract Neptune 7. Current facility management seems incapable of accessing essential systems to verify data integrity. We are implementing immediate containment measures. I'm aware of the situation, Admiral. As of yesterday afternoon, my employment was terminated by the company. Silence on the line. Heavy, pregnant silence that could give birth to congressional investigations. Terminated? His voice dropped to a register that could crack concrete. You were the designated Information Systems Security Officer for a $38 million classified contract. You were terminated without proper security handover protocols? I was told I was too premium priced for their new operational framework, Admiral. They replaced me with a more cost-effective dynamic team. I could hear him inhaling through his nose. It sounded like a jet engine spooling up for takeoff. I see, he said slowly. The menace in his voice had shifted targets. It wasn't aimed at me anymore. Mr. Patterson, I am formally requesting your immediate assistance. Not as an employee of Coastal Defense Systems, but as a cleared United States citizen with critical operational knowledge. Can you report to the facility within 30 minutes? I can be there in 20 minutes, Admiral. Outstanding. I'll have a federal escort team meet you at the security perimeter. Bring government-issued identification. Yes, sir. Hung up and checked myself in the mirror one last time. I looked tired but determined, like someone about to walk into a fire and put it out with 20 years of Navy experience and 8 years of specialized knowledge. Grabbed my keys and headed for the door, time to go back to work. But this time, I'd be working for people who understood the difference between cost-cutting and national security. This time, I'd be working for the Navy. The drive to Coastal Defense Systems felt like a victory parade. When I turned onto Corporate Drive, the scene looked like the opening sequence of a Tom Clancy movie. Federal response vehicles everywhere. Black. SUVs with government plates parked like they owned the sidewalk. FBI cyber forensics van. Colorado Springs Fire Department on standby, local police blocking civilian access. And standing in the middle of it all, looking smaller than she had 18 hours ago, was Brooke Whitfield. About to learn that some problems can't be solved with PowerPoint presentations and buzzwords. I pulled up to the federal checkpoint, rolled down my window, and smiled. Russell Patterson. Admiral Porter is expecting me. The agent checked his list, nodded, and waved me through. Time to show them what premium priced really meant.